Boa noite, senhoras e senhores. Mais um dia de transmissão ao vivo. Ficou bom sim. Hoje é dia 12 de janeiro de 2021, também conhecido como terça-feira. São 8 horas e 15 minutos. Bora começar então ver o que saiu nas notícias e a partir dali jogar um pouquinho e interagindo com vocês. Bora aqui e plau. Esse foi de ontem, né? Então saíram duas coisas aqui. Saíram, esperou eu parar. Então vamos ver aqui. Chegará em breve. Sinfonia hipostática é aquele que eles falaram. Eles vão falar aqui. Giz e Dragão, parte 2. Interessante. Se é sinfonia hipostática, pelo que eles falaram na apresentação, vai ser enfrentando aqueles cubos lá em versões mais difíceis e tendo. Quanto mais difícil você tenta, mais recompensa você tem. Aqui são as armas, a gente já discutiu sobre as armas. Aqui o evento, aqui ó, exatamente. Sinfonia hipostática, são os três aqui. Eu achei que. Então, a primeira vez você faz, recompensa com gema e depois você vai farmando até zerar a loja, provavelmente igual fazem. 7 dias de login diário. Já podia ter todo dia, né? Mas os caras colocam de 15 em 15 dias, uma semana. Aqui tá o banner de personagem, que a gente já falou sobre isso. Como os outros personagens já foram testados por todo mundo, e na verdade, além de testado, todo mundo já tem. Ou deveria ter. Aí então ele só vai deixar testar a Genyu e o Shinkyu. Beleza. Esse aqui eu tô curioso pra saber como vai ser. Se vai ser difícil mesmo, ou vai ter uma manhãzinha. Esse foi de ontem, tô indo pro lado errado. Tem 7 pra pagar. Oi, vamos lá de novo. Voltar aqui. Aqui. Ué. Assistir no YouTube.
Given Liyue's present prosperity.
Cara, ruim é que tá em inglês, né? Português, velocidade normal.
It's only natural that the city's operational support should match its scale. For millennia, from the birth of the Liyue Qixing to its current roster of 7, they've all relied on the Yuehai Pavilion's secretary, the half-Qilin illuminated beast Ganyu, who assists the mortals in handling the most crucial matters. Although I detest deities, and have no liking for the Adepti who sign contracts with the Giro Archon, a person like Ganyu is still deserving of my respect.
My job is to honor my contract with Rex Lapis by looking out for the interests of all living things in Liyue.
It is said that when a Qilin is brought to fight, the sun will lose its light. Ganyu is a force to be reckoned with, an archer with an exceptional aptitude for aimed shots. Her mastery over cryo lends itself well to high-damage burst attacks, while her skills are of great help to her and her allies during combat. Through centuries of training, Ganyu's archery has reached the acme of perfection. She excels at not only using bows, but also making them. Though she no longer needs to fight on the front lines, she still knows bow and arrow like the back of her hand. While forging bow-type weapons, Ganyu recovers a set percentage of the ores used. Her normal attack can combo up to 6 consecutive shots, dealing physical damage to enemies. Charging the attack executes a more precise shot that deals increased damage. Based on its charge time, the shot generates different effects. Charge level 1 fires off an icy arrow that deals cryo damage. Charge level 2 fires off a frost flake arrow that deals cryo damage and blooms after hitting its target, dealing AoE cryo damage.
Tava lendo mais ou menos. Bufaram bastante os danos dela pra
Frost flake arrow's power is best used against distant groups of enemies to maximize its effect.
Pra ver se ela consegue carregar. Então, não sei se
After unlocking the talent
antes de soltar ela,
within a
receber
set
buffzão
period of time after shooting a
que vai
frost flake
chegar.
arrow. The next frost flake arrow and its bloom will receive a crit rate bonus. Tap Ganyu's elemental skill to dash backward, leaving an ice lotus in her place that deals cryo damage and continuously taunts surrounding enemies, attracting them to attack it. When destroyed, or once its duration ends, it blooms profusely, dealing AoE cryo damage. Ice Lotus's endurance scales based on Ganyu's max HP. Dexterous use of Ice Lotus can effectively redirect enemy fire, creating a safe environment for Ganyu to dish out damage.
Blaze over!
Ganyu coalesces atmospheric frost to summon a sacred cryo pearl. While it's active, the sacred cryo pearl will continuously rain down shards of ice upon enemies within a set area, dealing cryo damage. Celestial Shower deals damage while serving as a reliable source of cryo that allows Ganyu's allies to trigger corresponding elemental reactions and further increase their damage output. After unlocking the talent Harmony Between Heaven and Earth with Ganyu in your party, all active party members within Celestial Shower's AoE gain a cryo damage bonus. As an archer, Ganyu knows to keep her enemies at a safe distance and avoid close quarters combat. A constant barrage of frostflake arrows is what makes her strengths truly shine, leading her to victory. Ganyu can use her elemental skill to get out of harm's way and taunt her opponents, allowing her to then fire frostflake arrows unbothered, dealing damage to groups of enemies from afar. When her energy is full, Ganyu can unleash her elemental burst to further increase her ability to deal damage. When facing more formidable foes together with her allies, Ganyu's ability to taunt and infuse enemies with cryo is an effective form of support for the whole party that allows for defeating enemies in one fell swoop. The Liyue Qixing has changed over generations. Centuries have passed in the blink of an eye. Ganyu's accompanied Liyue through many a storm, but Liyue Harbor itself, can this city really become a safe harbor for an Adeptus in the world of mortals? When the Geo-Archon Morax was alive, an Adeptus like Ganyu could find a sense of belonging in the human city. But at present, when the rite of parting has already marked his end, the loneliness of an inhuman living in the human world, will it take Ganyu over completely?
O quest dela parece que vai ser da hora, a história. E como é Giz e dragão, talvez a gente vai enfrentar o dragão, né? O quest chama Giz e dragão, já foi o Giz, que é o Albedo. Então bora ver os YouTubes. Vamos ver minhas inscrições.
Se for melhor que a do Albedo, está bom.
Ah, achei legalzinho a do Albedo. Vamos lá. Aqui foi o que foi ontem, né? Ah, aqui ó, Massive Gain New Buff.
Horrível a quest do Albedo.
Ele só mandava gente pra todo lado, né? Aqui foi o que a gente... Tá... Vamos ver esse cara aqui, que provavelmente te gasta bastante dinheiro. Como eu digo, antes de tentar o... Antes de tirar o personagem, testa ele e vê o que os caras que gastam dinheiro falam dele. Então é isso que a gente vai fazer aqui. Ver esse cara aqui que gasta bastante dinheiro. Qualquer coisa a gente... E... Esse foi o negócio. Uma promo code que... Tá, vou colocar isso aqui na sequência. Foi o que você mandou, eu acho. E... Esse cara. Não!
The bell.
Ô, carai. Eu sou destro, mano. Mas minha mão direita está suja. Aqui. Aqui. E aqui. Tem já, será? Chega, foi. Vamos lá.
Today we're going to be talking about Ganyu, and let me just say at first glance, she looks insane.
She looks insane, mas o cara aqui tem o Zhongli que dá 5k de dano por porrada.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Damone, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. Took the day off yesterday, and now we're going to talk about my initial thoughts on Ganyu. Now, before we get into this, I will say that Ganyu seems to be the easiest hero to use. I thought that initially you would need her constellations for her to be successful, but after testing her a little bit in the test phase on the Asia server, since Asia got Ganyu first, she seems like the most beginner-friendly hero to date, in my personal opinion. Now, this opinion could change when we do the full test, full sample, when I'm actually able to summon her on the American servers here in about 12 hours. We'll do the full gear, full constellation, full everything, and we'll run her at full gamut to see exactly what she can actually do. But just from the data that I've been able to collect, just from running her in the test run alone at C0 with just a Favonius Warbow, you guys are going to see some insane things, and I think she has the crazy, probably the craziest potential as a Constellation Zero hero that I've seen outside of Venti. And you guys will see why here in just a second. Now, the first thing that I want to get into, guys, is her basic attack. And normally, I don't really stress too much about heroes' basic attacks because they're real self-explanatory and there's not much more to it. However, Ganyu brings a different element when it comes to the basic attack, so I want to get these stats on screen and show you guys what her capabilities are. As you guys look at this, a lot of her damage is going to be built around her aim shot or her charge attack. Now, the beautiful thing about our charge attack, though, is that it charges pretty quick because you have basically two phases of our charge attack, and it becomes a Frostflake arrow. And when you fully charge the arrow, as you guys can see here, when you hit an enemy with this arrow, you like, pew, right? It hits the enemy, and it creates a bloom, which is like an AoE attack. Now, the cool thing about this bloom attack is that you don't even necessarily have to hit the enemy with the arrow. You can trigger this bloom effect by hitting any hard surface. So for those of you guys who aren't too aim savvy, you can actually shoot the ground in front of the enemies and it'll still create the bloom effect for an AoE attack, dealing pretty decent damage. Now, if you guys are looking at the stats on the screen while she's doing this basic attack with these charged attacks, you guys can see that the damage scales quite considerably. Because at level 10, which is achievable by everybody, she's doing 223% of her attack damage with just the basic aim shot. Add another 230% for the Frostflake arrow, and then a little bit more damage with 391.98% for the bloom. So when you stack all those number variations together, it can create some significant damage if you decide to build Ganyu around the charged attack. And this is just, again, at first glance, using the equipment that we see here in the test phase. If you guys are curious about the equipment that we're using in the test phase, for weapons, she's using a Favonius Warbow, where there's nothing too crazy here, just refinement 1. And the beautiful thing about this Favonius Warbow is with the 60% chance to crit at R1, it's going to generate elemental particles, which is going to create some unique situations for our ultimate, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. In terms of artifacts, I need you guys to keep in mind that the numbers that you guys are seeing here, in some cases, are going to add 30% more damage because the enemy's HP is over 50%. So just subtract 30% from the numbers that you guys see here before going too crazy. But also keep in mind that since we don't even know what these artifacts are, we're going to have to rely more on her attributes. Now, the beautiful thing about her attributes is that she has higher HP. She has higher HP at 17,669. Her attack power is actually pretty low at only 1,466. Low elemental mastery as well. Stack that on top, we have a very low crit rate. Well, a decent crit rate, I will say, at 50%. And her crit damage is at 101%. Now, the beautiful thing about that is she's only getting 22.4% crit damage from her artifacts here. So you know what that means? That crit damage is actually her ascension stat.
Ela ganha
so
crit
it's not
damage
going to be
de
hard
ascensão
at all getting crit damage
mais
from
do que o de
Ganyu.
Luke.
Now, when we get into her skill 2, at first glance, I thought this was actually a really unique ability. Because the big thing about this is when you use this E, it shuns all impurities, so it removes harmful effects from her, and it causes her to just basically dash back, as you guys can see on the screen. Now, with this dash ability, it deals damage initially as you cast it near an enemy, and it also creates a bloom, this little rose, right, or lotus, that you guys can see, or whatever that is, cherry blossom, I have no idea, but it creates this flower that attracts enemies to attack it. Think of it like Amber's doll, except, you know, when they attack this flower, it's also going to detonate. So you get initial damage on the plant, and you also get damage when the flower explodes. Now, the flower's HP is based on Ganyu's health, so the more health Ganyu has, the longer the flower will last, but that's not to say that you necessarily want Ganyu with a lot of health, because the faster that flower dies, the quicker you get the second proc for the damage. Now, if we look at level 10, it's going to deal 237.6% of the damage. Again, as you guys can see on the screen, it's not bad taking into consideration that, you know, she has the gear that she has currently. But now here's where things get fun. When we get into Ganyu's ult, this is why I think that she's literally the easiest character to use in this game right now, other than Venti. Even easier than Zhongli, even easier than Albedo, and the reason I say that is because her ult is pretty much permanent. Now, what we got an opportunity to see when we're doing the test with the bow that we're using here, the Favonius War Bow, which you guys pretty much get for free, if I remember correctly from doing a quest, I think at like level 20 or something like that. With this bow, this allowed her to generate elemental particles while she was utilizing her ultimate. And as you guys can see here on screen, she's basically just running around in a circle, generating elemental particles as she's just utilizing her ult. She's not utilizing her E. She's not utilizing basic attacks. She's literally just running around in a circle using ult, and as her ult comes back up, she just uses it again and again and again and again until the enemy dies. Now, you might be like, well, when we look at the numbers on the screen, D, the numbers don't really look that great. I mean, at level 10... she's only dealing 126, maybe 127% damage. And I'm like, well, yes, but that's per icicle that hits the target. And the frequency of the icicles falling means that they're going to consistently keep your enemies in a cryo state, meaning that it's going to make it very, very easy to trigger elemental reactions. So at first glance, we're looking at this like if you're pairing with characters like Lisa, if you're pairing with characters like Bennett, if you're pairing with characters like Shang Ling, or pretty much any character that has a sustainable AoE or Beidou with her ultimate, right, that allows you to chain lightning, it's going to make creating elemental reactions really, really easy. So the thing is if you're deciding to use her as a support, you literally can just charge the ult, put the ult down, maybe pair it with like an Albedo, Shang Ling, a Bennett, whatever, and then just flip-flop, swap, you know, do whatever you need to do, and then switch to the character that's going to be dealing your primary DPS. If you're intending on using Ganyu as a primary DPS, it seems that because she has so many instances of damage, combining the initial proc of her E, with the fact that her E explodes, with her charge attack with the 3 instances or the 3 procs of damage off of her aim shot, and you're stacking the ultimate damage on top of that, there's so many instances of damage that you can create some crazy things, as you guys can see this on the screen, with a full combination of her abilities. All in all, I think Ganyu is pretty crazy. And we will get more into this, of course, you know, when we get her and we test her with a bunch of different weapons. But at first glance, it seems like she could be good with pretty much anything. I can see her being used with Sacrificial Bow to take advantage of her E. I can see her being used with Favonius War Bow for the ult recharge. I can see her being used on Amos if you guys are looking for more of a sniper build. I can see you guys using her with Skyward Harp if you guys are looking for more of just getting the extra crit plus the extra damage. She could even be good on Rust, I think, if you guys are looking for more of an unorthodox build. If you guys are really not into the aim shot, yeah, you'll lose a lot of damage because you're not using the charge shot as much. But I think on the basic attack damage, I think you have a lot of options. And again, we will test this live on stream a little bit later when she comes out for America. But pretty much any of your options, stringless, BP bow, anything can work. And it really puts me in this situation where I'm like, I can't even say that the Amos bow is that necessary on the weapon banner for Ganyu due to the just sheer amount of versatility that Ganyu has. So I don't think this is really a situation where you just need to get the banner weapon because you can get away with pretty much using anything. And due to the fact that with her kit, she's so easy to use, I think she's very safe to summon as a C0 and not really have to worry about the constellations. And before we get into the actual constellations themselves, I wanted to talk to you guys briefly about artifact sets. We're going to get into this obviously more in depth later on when we full test this, but I think there are a lot of possibilities with Ganyu. Obviously, you know, the cryo set naturally will work great. You guys can also look at doing stuff like, you know, 2-piece Gladiator with 2-piece Noblesse, or 2-piece Noblesse Oblige with 2-piece Cryo, or 4-piece Wanderer's True for the increased charge attack damage, or you guys can go with unorthodox builds like a Bolide set if you guys are using shield heroes like pairing her with Diona or Zhongli, and you guys are planning on using Rust, right, to get that increased attack damage, plus the Bolide set, right, if you guys aren't really into the whole charged attack thing. But I think there are a lot of possibilities, and again, we will test all of them later. But let's get into the constellations. Because when we get into her constellations, I think the biggest ones for her obviously are C1, C2, C4, and C6. Obviously 3 and 5 are going to be just the skill upgrades, but our constellation 1 is basically going to increase the energy recharge for her and reduce the enemy's resistance to cryo when using your charge shot, right? When we get into her C2, it's going to add an extra charge to her E ability, but again, not necessarily something that you need because her kit flows so well already. Now, I think this is something that you're going to need for the C2 if you're looking for more mobility, meaning you want to be able to get in and get out of situations easier, then I think it's definitely something to shoot for. And if you're going to be going for her Constellation 6, which of course makes things a little crazy in terms of overall damage per second. Now, when we get into her C4 is basically just increasing the amount of damage her ult does over time, the longer it's up. And since her ult is just up all the time anyway, it's just basically going to allow you to just have increased damage, like up to 25% more damage on her ult and for per icicle, right? So it's really, really nice. And then of course the C6 is basically makes it to where every time you use that E or her second ability to create that Blossom, your next charge attack is basically instant, right? So this is why that's just going to increase her damage scale. So in certain situations, I've ran into heroes where you pretty much need the C6, right? So for Child, I feel like Child's playstyle is so dramatically different, or Tartaglia, like the C6 is dramatically changing his kit, right? So, but when I look at Ganyu, I feel like her constellations are just more supplemental. Like they complement her kit, but I don't really think that they're necessary unless you're just trying to obviously min-max. But if you guys are just looking to get Ganyu because maybe you guys are like saving for Xiao or saving for other heroes, I think honestly like C0 Ganyu is a safe bet. Again, if you guys are looking for more information on whether or not you should counter up, I'll be live streaming this later. We'll do the full C0 test with all the gear and all that jazz. We'll do that live on YouTube, and then we'll also obviously be doing the summon session as well, and then you guys can get the information there, and you guys can decide at that point if she's worth getting. I definitely think that she is a great hero that makes building teams easy no matter what team you're using, and I think it's going to be really hard to find heroes that don't actually pair well with this hero. I think MiHoYo is, well, at least by the looks of it, like after they made Albedo was also a really easy to use hero, and now with Ganyu, I think the power creep is starting, and these characters are starting to seem like they're getting stronger and easier to use as time goes by, and I think unfortunately this is just a signal of things to come, but on the flip side of that, it's great because you know that if you guys are spending money, you are definitely getting your money's worth, because this is a great hero I think to play, and I think, you know, for beginner-friendly heroes, she's just probably one of the easiest heroes to use for elemental reactions. She's also really easy to use to just put into any random team comps. Overall, I think she's great. We tested it out again on Twitch quite a bit, but you guys will be able to see more of that as we get into that later. So at first glance, looking just at the test phase and the test gear, I think she's absolutely a go if you guys have been waiting to see what she's looking like. But if you guys are, again, wanting to err on the side of caution, wait till we test her live, and you guys will be able to see for yourself when we actually gear her up and get some real gear on her instead of this Brave set and all this other stuff. And you guys can see what kind of damage and stuff she can put up. So anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to cover today. If you guys got any questions, comments, concerns, definitely let me know in the comment box below, and I'd be happy to assist. And with that being said, we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Welcome everyone. Today we'll have a new promo code. I'm also working on a series of gaming reviews and guides as well. So let's have a look at the promo code first. This is the new promo code to me as well, so we're gonna try it out and let's have a look. We got ready. Yes, we got it. So there we go. Let's have a look what we got out of it. That's the most important part. The new gaming promo code is 30 promo gems and 5 experience books. They give us less promo gems, aren't they? So notice the last one was 50. This one is 30. Okay, good. You know, it's like 1/5 of a gaming roll. We'll take it. So here is the promo code, guys. I'll have the promo code posted just to show you what you can do is. Okay, come into the settings section and we can come into account and use the redeem code, and this is the promo code. I'll have this one ready for you guys and make sure you grab those. I'm also working on the Gary series with my clips and also the damage and the gameplay of Ganyu. So if you guys are interested, I also recorded some of me farming a certain resource. I'll tell you what I mean by that. So I also want to mention to you guys, if you haven't farmed the resource, there is a location which you can farm the resource. It's actually over here. You can farm all the elemental trials. I can include some of the ones in my replays, and I can also include the gaming replays if you guys are interested to have a look. I won't include much. I think I'll include 2 of the harder ones of this one in the next part of this video, and also since I'm working on the Ganyu gameplays, I'll include some of my gaming gameplays yesterday that I'm testing. You can check out how I am going to play Ganyu. What I usually do is, you know what, I'll show you guys a demonstration. That's what I mean. So how I'm planning to play Ganyu is, I'm still testing her. What I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to fire my arrow off first. So here we are. This is the demonstration. So notice the Fatari enemies. What I'm trying to do with Ganyu is, I'm trying to fire my arrow off first, and then I'm also trying to hit the ground. So there's a few things I'm testing: the radius of the ground, the choices that we can hit both enemies, and how to use the Ice Lotus, how to use the combos correctly. So if you're interested, check out the gameplays we have on the next part, just to see how I'm fighting the monsters. But I'll have the guide ready for you guys, hopefully today, to use Ganyu and just to see how amazing she is. She's really cool, right? Look at the damage. It's incredible. So yeah, really enjoy her and having a lot of fun with her visita. And over here, you're going to see some of the highlights with me fighting for Taris, and just to show how powerful Gang is with the combination with the combos and how squishy she is. She is actually quite squishy. So I'll have a few of the clips. So as I mentioned earlier, there is a number of free loots we could grab, and this over here in the domain, the particular domain of trials allows you to fight different monsters with different combinations and grab those loots. I'll include not all of them, just 1 or 2 of the replays to show you guys what I mean by that, and make sure you grab those.
Tinha outro vídeo na sequência? Tem, né? Tem. Vai, vamos ver esse cara engraçado.
The bell. It jingles.
Nem comida usa para esquentar na espinha do dragão.
Wow, what swirl?
Nice done.
Hey, it's Seals. What you're about to see today is me taking a spin after summoning Ganyu and getting her to level 90 and getting her almost full at level 90 as well. All the talents, gear, constellations will be shown at the end.
Quando eu digo pra esperar os caras que gastam dinheiro testar, é isso que eu tô falando. O cara pegou a Ganyu, jogou pro nível 90 e jogou o arco que ele tirou no nível 90. Eu tô penando pra colocar o de Luke no 90, véio. E eu tirei ele no começo do banner.
If you're excited for Ganyu and you're looking forward to the giveaway where I pick a random viewer for their Ganyu,
tá,
make
mas
sure you subscribe and smash this video like.
Por isso que eu gosto de Jinx. Ele joga... Ele, apesar de colocar os bichos no nível alto, ele...
Oh no!
Ele não usa arma 5 estrelas, por exemplo.
Oh! Wait, let me shoot the ground. Oh! 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 Oh my god, you don't even have to aim! I knew it! We were talking about this in the video! We don't even have to aim! Holy shit! Editor Zeals here, and there were a couple of things that I really wanted to try. After seeing her in the live stream for 1.2, I wanted to see if her charged attack, if you needed to actually aim. And you're about to find out, ladies and gents. Now, you're going to see a little boy get really excited, so please excuse me. I'm going to be repeating something quite often, but I was just blown away at the moment. Yo, let's say you got drunk, ladies and gents. Holy shit! You don't have to aim! What is this game? Whoa, what the fuck? She squeals like a little squirrel. No aim required! Mihoyo, why didn't you say something? Holy shit. It's okay. I mean, you can't shoot up in the mountain, but... Look at that! Oh my god! Ricochet! Holy shit, she squished. Wall shot, baby.
Bom, né? Bora jogar. Colocar o código lá.
Oh my god.
Não esqueçam de colocar o código.